Peadar Tóibín, please.
Minister, housing is the biggest single failure of this government, without a shadow of a doubt. Statistics released to Féin 2 under the Freedom of Information Act have shown that 400 people have died homeless on the streets of Dublin since 2018, a shocking figure. On average, 10 people were dying in the latter months of last year on the streets of Dublin in homelessness. We know that there's 14,486 people officially on the homeless register at the moment, a figure that keeps going up under your government. 10,000 of these are adults and 4,419 children were accessing emergency accommodation this month, an incredible figure. That's the equivalent population, Minister, of the whole town of Killarney in County Kerry that are currently homeless. It's equivalent, the children figures, is equivalent to 180 classrooms of children who are currently homeless as a result of your government. And these figures are getting worse by the day under Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael and the Green government. And they do not count the number of families who are sleeping rough, or the number of families who are sleeping on couches in friends' and families' houses as well. With tens of thousands of families at the moment in this country are at the brink of this situation. And that's one of the most fearful things that's happening right now. Currently, in families, they are simply one serious car issue away or one rental hike away from becoming homeless themselves. And many families will be going to sleep tonight, or at least trying to go to sleep tonight, with the pressure of that on their shoulders. There are 60,000 people currently who are on homeless waiting lists across the country currently. And Eurostat has found that rents have increased 100% in Ireland since Fine Gael were elected to government in 2011. In my own county of Meath, the average rent is currently €2,000, which is an incredible situation. House prices are out of reach, but only for the wealthy. Currently, the average home in Dublin now is selling for over €500,000. Buying a house under Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael and the Greens is a luxury good in reality for many, many people. The combined income, the combined gross income of doctors, Gardaí, nurses, etc., for a normal 3-bedroom semi-detached house in a Greater Dublin area is simply not possible to them. And many people, as a result, have to live 30 and 40 miles away from their jobs and have to commute 3 hours back and forth each day, which has an enormous effect financially on their family and also on the environment as well. The government's targets in relation to housing is a major problem, and the government is no way near achieving those targets. The government targets, are not even the size they should be to actually meet the whole housing crisis as well. The SRI have stated that we need to be building 60,000 houses a year currently to meet with the current demand. In the first 9 months of the year, 2,642 new social houses were built at the moment, but these were new builds by the government, a long way short of the full year target of 9,100. 2,000 affordable homes were delivered in the first 3 quarters of the year, far fewer than the 5,500 target. The government are increasing the population of this country by 100,000 people a year, a population that's equivalent to the city of Galway, but they're not building the extra university hospital, they're not building the extra university, they're not building the dozens of schools, and they're certainly not building the tens of thousands of houses that are needed to meet that extra demand within the system. And Fine Gael have been in government now for 13 years, Fianna Fáil in government for 8 years. From Phil Hogan to Alan Kelly, to Simon Coveney, to Owen Murphy, and now to Darragh O'Brien, the situation's getting worse. Incredibly, in the census in 2022, we learned that 500,000 adults over the age of 18 were living with their parents. That's an astounding figure, Minister. 500,000 adults are currently living at home with their parents. And that was a 14% increase in 2016 and a 19% increase in 2021. 13% of all the adults in this country are actually living with their parents under this government. I think the government has destroyed the ambition of young people to be able to have their own home. And in response, young people are emigrating at the rate of knots. Couples are putting off having their families. Those who are having their families are having fewer children. And as a result, I'm being told in certain schools, in certain parts of the country now, there are fewer and fewer children presenting for junior infants as a result of these changes. And sports clubs around the country, many of them in Mayo, will tell you that teams are being decimated by the number of young people who are forced to emigrate. And this is having a massive effect in terms of the delivery of public services. We heard this week that we have 1,000 teaching vacancies nationwide. Minister, Australia is recruiting more Gardaí this year than the Irish government because of the fact that so many Gardaí are voting with their feet and they're going to Australia. I think that's an incredibly damning statistic in relation to what's happening in housing. Aontú has developed detailed, costed, common-sense housing policies that we believe, if implemented, would seriously impact on the increasing housing supply in this country. And the first thing we want to do is tackle the number of empty homes in Ireland. Empty homes in the middle of a housing crisis is similar to having ships leave the country with food in the middle of a famine. Right now, the government are giving out refurbishment grants for vacant homes, but we've, through PQs, found that the government are delivering about 5 or 6 of these refurbishment grants every month. If the government are to continue at this rate, it'll take 1,600 years for the number of empty homes in this country to be refurbished. That is not a government that is inspired by urgency at any level. There's also a situation at the moment that we're not giving out the grants at a speedy enough time in terms of families that want to live over shops. I myself was born and raised above a garage in Navan, and at that time many families lived in the centre of towns above shops. We in Aontú want to see 8,000 vacant home grants given out at €70,000 each at a cost of €560 million a year. We want to see an equivalent for over shop living at €30,000 for each refurbishment at a cost of €60 million a year. There's also about 4,000 currently empty local authority homes in this country, and it's taken an average 8 months to flip those homes and re-rent them to another family. In the private sector, it takes an average 3 weeks for the same thing to happen. It does not make sense whatsoever. It takes about €25,000 to refurbish each of those homes. We need to want to make €100 million available to get those homes back into use, and we will mandate local authorities to bring those homes back into use within a month on average as well. Human resources and infrastructure are a major problem in the delivery of homes in this country, and in actual fact, the government have completely ignored the infrastructural deficit that exists in this country for the last 10 years. For most of the last 10 years, infrastructural spend has been second last in the EU ladder, only Romania beating us to last place during that period of time. We want to see significant investment in water and wastewater infrastructure in this state, and that would free up many house bills that are actually waiting for those 2 items to be provided in their local areas. We also want to look at the issue of construction workers. There are hundreds of thousands of construction workers, Irish construction workers, building homes at the moment. But the truth is, nearly half of those are constructing in Australia and Canada. We want to see those workers brought home. Aontú would develop Operation Shamrock to attract Irish construction workers from abroad to Ireland. We would give a relocation package of €5,000 in vouchers to help people with flights and accommodation, and we would provide a €10,000 tax credit over a 3-year period to allow those workers come back to Ireland. We would also see the building of accommodation for returning workers in a speedy fashion. Under Class 17 of the exempt development regulations, we would be able to provide 1,000 homes in a significantly faster period to provide for those returning construction workers. We'd also improve on workplace planning to increase the number of construction workers, to see apprentice positions increase from 1,500 to 3,000 a year. And the cost of building is crucifying not just young couples, but also many builders are simply not building at the moment. We would significantly reduce the cost of funding through the HBFI fund in this state at the moment. We would zero rate VAT on construction materials for a 3-year period, and we would reduce the cost of building homes to make it more viable for small builders, especially outside of Dublin, to build. We believe that these proposals would reduce the cost of building homes by €55,000. We also believe that a bird cannot fly in one wing, and we want to see 15,000 social homes built a year and 7,000 affordable homes built. To do that, we want to speed up the whole planning process by recruiting more planners within the system and improving the pay terms and condition of planners within the system. There are many other issues, such as we brought a bill to reduce the tax advantages of REITs and also to stop Airbnbs functioning within large towns and cities for a 2-year emergency period. The government are just not getting to grips with what's needed.
Thank you.